Shalom, welcome to Challenging Torah, a project of the Malibu Jewish Center and Synagogue. We're at the end of the book of Leviticus, called the Holiness Code. First given to the priests, but now, from these last two chapters of Bahar Sinai, at the mountain of Sinai, God speaks to Moses and says, "Tell all the Jewish people, the following are my commandments." Actually, this portion really began at the end of last week. It was sort of like a dessert in last week, and you wondered, what's that doing there? Where it says, "You shall not make idols, or any graven image, or erect a pillar. You shall not set up any image of stone in your land. Bow down to it. I am the Lord, thy God." God remembers what happened right after the commandments were given at Sinai. No sooner did Moses go up the mountain than they lost faith. They were overwhelmed by a fear of abandonment. And 1, 2, 3, we had a calf made out of gold, right? So God now understands that we obviously need a rule book. If we are to be God's partner, which is what this covenant is, God understands that we need a little guidance, that we're not going to be able to get the impulse to do good, to keep our land in harmony, just out of our gut. We probably will not want to leave our land fallow, leave the corners of our fields, tithe to our neighbors and to those who are poor. Probably not going to figure that out. Left on our own, we will keep everything for ourselves and live in a certain amount of greed and fear. So God says, look, I can make this simple. I have commandments for you. If you walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, then I will give you rain in your due season, and the land shall yield her produce, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit. All good. Just follow my rules. What were those rules? Take care of the widow, the orphan, and the stranger. Leave your land and let it lie fallow, and let the land have a Shabbat. Keep a Shabbat. These are not picky rules. These are rules that will guide you towards harmony, both with the land and the people who are in your people and the people around you. You shall not oppress a stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. If you follow my rules, God says, your threshing shall last till the time of the vintage, and the vintage shall last to the sowing time, and you shall eat your bread in full, and you shall live in the land in safety. And I will walk among you and be your God. I will be your God, and you will be my people. But, we knew there was a but. If you do not listen to me and do not do all these commandments, you shall despise my statutes if your soul loathes my judgments, so that you do not do all my commandments, but break my covenant. Then I will also do this to you. I will appoint you overseers. I'll anoint those who will lead to terror, consumption, fever, that will consume the eyes. I will cause sorrow of the heart, and you will sow your seed in vain, but your enemies will eat it. God begins the story of the curses. And we look at this and go, wait a minute, this is terrible. This is a punishing God. But no, God is not punishing. This is going to be the inevitable consequence of not dealing with your fellow human being. They say in last week's portion, Al tanu ish et achiv, right? Do not distress one another. If you do not let your land lie fallow and rest, throw a lot of GMOs in it, you're going to have trouble. There are going to be bugs out of control, perhaps. If you do not take care of the widow, the orphan, and the stranger, turn on tonight's news. There will be consequences that happen. God is asking for a partnership and just giving us guidelines for partnership. But God says, I will set my face against you, and you will be slain before your enemies if you look at me and rebel bakeri. The word keri means rebellion. But it's kind of a teenage, what? Look, I can just see it now. God knows that look. That's the look of, I'm talking to me? Right. So if you set yourself as an adversary to God, as opposed to being God's partner in healing this world, the word keri comes from the root kor, which means cold or callous. Look what happens when we are callous to income inequality, to homeless. This week I watched a boat capsize on television with 700 or 800 people in it, most of whom drowned. How many people were concerned about that? That's to be Bekeri. And God says, if you live like that with Bekeri, then I will bring the land into destruction. And your enemies who dwell in it will be astonished at it, like how bad it is. And I will scatter you among the nations. And I will draw out a sword after you, and your land will be desolate, and your cities laid waste. Then shall the land observe its Sabbaths as long as it is desolate, and you are in your enemy's land. The land will take back what it needs. And those who are left alive, I will send a faintness to their heart in the land of their enemies, and the sound of a driven leaf shall chase them, and they shall flee from a sword as if from a sword, and they shall fall when none pursue. We look at our situation today and how fearful we are. A bomb threat can bring all of an airport to a halt instantly. Sometimes it's true. Most of the time, it's fear. We are led by fear now. So God says, be my partner. It's not about punishment. Live according to these guidelines. Take care of each other. Take care of the land. Keep a balance and an equality. And the Jubilee year, give it back. Trust me, God says. You'll have enough. No idols. If you follow my vows and be my partner, together we can heal the world. It ends with the words, as it always does, Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. Be strong, be strong, be strengthened. We need strength today. God knows it isn't easy. Shabbat shalom, take your rest.